Hello, welcome back to the Twin Times podcast. It's episode 12. It's been a while between innings, but today we have a guest, Anja Christoffersen. She's an entrepreneur, author, and disability advocate. It was a wonderful conversation we had with her. It was recorded remotely. She was in her offices in Queensland, and we were at our home in South Australia. We hope you enjoy the episode.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Anja. I'm a disability advocate. I'm a social entrepreneur. I've written a book. I've done modelling internationally. I do a lot of different things. So I find it a little bit difficult to talk about all the things that I do because there's just too much sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. When we were researching you, you're a bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
A little bit. I think, sometimes when you're an all-rounder, you're not good at anything, but I try to be good at a few things.
Yeah. No, you probably found your niche in one little thing or in multiple things.
Yeah.
You're definitely a very talented young woman.
Thank you. I try for it to be lived experience of disability and then see where it branches out and where it takes me.
Yeah. Well, that's a great starting point. So could you please tell us a little bit about your disability and your diagnosis?
Of course. So at 28 weeks of my mother's pregnancy, it was actually all picked up. So in my disability, I didn't have any joint in my stomach. So usually when a woman's pregnant, there's actually some of the amniotic fluid that a baby swallows and digests. But because I didn't have that, my mum grew to be huge. Like I had a whole swimming pool in there. So when they noticed how big she was getting and how quickly that was happening, it raised some red flags. So she had a scan. At first, they said that, the baby didn't have any stomach and that I would pass away. And it was very dramatic. And so my mum came in for another scan. And in that scan, they were actually able to pick up my full diagnosis, which is quite huge in my community because some people get diagnosed with VATRL, in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So it's a condition that's an acronym that stands for vertebral, anal, cardiac, tracheal, esophageal, renal, and limb abnormalities. And you have to have 3 to qualify under the diagnosis. And I have all except limb. Everything's internal. So I can hide all the things that I go through quite easily. So in terms of vertebral, I have an extra lumbar vertebra. So I am particularly tall and I have scoliosis, so curvature of my spine. And I have hemivertebra, so partially formed vertebra. And I'm missing bones in my sacrum, so the base of my spine. So I don't fall over and hit my tailbone and complain because I don't have a tailbone, which is, I guess.
I stacked it on a skateboard the other day and really felt that. So. Yeah.
Oh no. See, I don't have that problem. It's great.
It's an advantage.
It is. Sure. It is. And then the A is for anal. So I was born with an anorectal malformation, a really complex one that occurs in 1 in 50,000 births. It's called cloaca. So it's where you have only one opening. So I had my intestine and urethra and 2 vaginal openings just going into one common channel. So at birth, I had to have a colostomy and vesicostomy made. So the bags for bowel and bladder. And then I had a full pelvic reconstructive surgery where they remade all of my openings. The C is cardiac. So I had a hole in my heart that was able to thankfully resolve without any surgical intervention, but have some ongoing cardiac problems. The TE, like I alluded to, I had no joint in my stomach, so esophageal atresia, but I had it joined actually into my air pipe. So any saliva would go directly into my lungs. So I had that reconstructed as well. And then the R is renal, so kidney. I only have 1 kidney. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's quite a lot. What were the types of feelings that you went through when you first found out about your disability?
I think because I grew up knowing that I had a disability in a lot of ways, because I was always in hospital. And I think when you're in hospital, always around other sick kids, you just assume that everyone is sick. And I think I had perceived it as sickness, not as disability, because I didn't necessarily have a good understanding of what disability was. But because I had to do a lot of things daily to manage my, complications and challenges, like, for example, like a daily, rectal irrigation, I thought everyone did that. And when I realized that everyone didn't do that in, grade 1, 2 of school, and not everyone had scars on their stomach, I was quite horrified. And I think that's probably when it started to click that I was different. And rather than, I think, going into my shell, I was really excited that this was a point of difference for me and it could be an opportunity for me to educate other people. So when there were show and tells at school, instead of, bringing like photos of my dog or something, I would bring a post with all of the things about my disability and would have like a before and after of, like a human body, and then would have my version with like whited out parts of where I was missing things and redrawn parts of where I'm not. So it became a really exciting thing for me to talk about and to share with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe sharing that type of stuff, especially at a young age, would have really educated your classmates and a lot of other people. And when sharing those stories to like classmates, whether that be in primary school or high school, did you kind of learn to accept your disability in a way, like this is who I am and I'm proud to show it?
Absolutely. I think especially my younger years, I was just so proud of my differences. And I just wanted to share it and shout it from the rooftop. And it was only starting to go into my later primary school years and my high school years that I did realize it was a massive difference. And I became a little bit more reserved about talking about it. And I'd only talk about it to my closer friends. And I think that I was probably scared that I would be treated differently. So I wanted, so badly to be normal. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to, whether it's disability or not. And so I just would, talk about it privately, but try and just be the same as everybody else. I didn't want, the fact that I couldn't swallow or couldn't do, couldn't breathe easily in sports. I didn't want that to be related to my disability. I just wanted it to be, a human thing that happens, and to manage it that way.
That's a quick question. That's just come to my head. What did you thrive at in high school? What was the things that you're really good at?
I think I was really good at, just academia. I was great at, science and maths and kind of those things on like that medical sort of path. But I also loved debating. I was very good at arguing and making a point in public speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know someone quite well like that. Yeah, she was very good. Yeah. How do you I'm sure you face challenges every day with the disability you have. How do you overcome those challenges?
I think I've learned to be more gentle on myself. I think when I was younger, it was kind of like, just get over it, it doesn't exist, don't worry about it. But now I think just being more gentle with myself, with my body, and understanding that, sometimes I do have limitations, even though that's not a word that I really like to use, but there are some things that are just a little bit more difficult, and that's okay. And I just more play to my strengths. Like I know that my mind works in a brilliant way. So I just use my mind rather than going out and trying to do sports, which I'm just terrible at, and physical activity, which I'm terrible at. So yeah, I think it's more just about playing to my strengths, and when things aren't going that well, being like, that's okay, that's life.
I'm assuming you don't follow any sport then.
I follow sport, like I'm great at watching.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah, right. Who do you are you a big rugby fan or?
Well, yes, I like rugby league. I feel like when you're from Queensland, you have to like rugby league.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you should like
That's a good question. What's it like living up in Queensland? Are you from the city, Brisbane, or the outer suburb?
Between Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. So I live on the Sunshine Coast now. And it's really lovely. It's quite quiet up here. Like at, 8, 9 o'clock, there'll be no one out, which is funny. But I know it's shocking. But basically, it's lovely. It's the beach. You can hear the birds. There's nature everywhere. It's really lovely. And I think because now I travel a lot interstate for work, I can kind of get that, high energy environment. And then I can come back and I can kind of relax and rejuvenate and go more into my shell, answer my emails and do that more intense work. And it works well.
speaking of traveling, that goes straight into our next segment. You're a model, and I wanted to find out why did you want to start modeling? What made you want to do it?
I think in some ways it was just kind of that generic thing where, you're a little girl and you like getting dressed up and looking pretty and taking photos. There was that part to it. But then I, entered the modeling industry and I had that big knockback because I had scars. And I think that's when it fully 100% clicked for me that it was never about the photos and the pretty dresses and the clothes and the getting dressed up. It was really actually about representation for my community. And I'd always been told when I was, younger and growing up, my parents would always say, I wish I could have seen someone like you at this age or at that age, because there was so much uncertainty around what my life would look like or if I would survive. And so being able to be that person for, the parents of the young children and for the young children themselves that used to be me, on, catwalks, on billboards, on whatever, I think that meant a lot to me. And I didn't really see a lot of representation of people with scars, even though some people don't notice mine. So I felt that that was a really important thing for me. And I was very strong on not wanting to get there because I was the token disabled model, but wanting to get there because people just chose me for the model that I was.
Yeah, no, it would have been, I guess, hard breaking into that industry with what you were living with.
What was it like living in the Netherlands? Was it a great adventure? Did you hit some roadblocks on the way through your experience there?
There were definitely roadblocks. I think that it's so easy to look at it from the outside and think it was some sort of fairy tale, but it was a really challenging experience. I was very much there for work and I was there alone. I didn't even have health insurance, which was pretty risky and silly.
Yeah, right. Okay, that would have been really risky.
Yeah, I didn't think that through. But because I was there alone, there was a lot that I had to kind of make sure that I would be well enough. And I was in that really intense, European modeling industry. So I had to try and make sure that my measurements would be good. I was measured, every 2 days, quite often, and then told like I'd have my measurements written down and then what my measurements should be and like arrows written across and told how I can make that happen. And what exercises I can and can't do, because some exercises build muscle and some don't. And, my health couldn't keep up in a lot of ways. And I had this really distinct memory of going to a fitting and we were all having to stand there in these outfits and they were just made of plastic. And I don't know if you've ever worn like proper, like actual plastic, but it's really hot. And so I was standing and I just dropped to the ground because, I can't stand in one place.
Right.
And the casting people got up and they came over to me and they picked me up off the ground and they gave me a sugar tablet. And it was literally just these tablets that they'd have in their bag that were just pure sugar to get people's blood sugar up, because they were so used to models just dropping to the ground because they wouldn't eat because they'd be starving themselves all the time.
I think that'd be like a work health safety thing.
You'd think so, but it's the industry, so it's shocking. And I think after that whole experience, I realized that it wasn't really worth sacrificing my health for. Of course,
No,
yeah,
I wouldn't. Absolutely not. Walking at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, were you at all nervous?
so I was a bit nervous. It was so exciting. And the designer that I was walking for, they had a specific shoe designer. And so before I went to, walk for them, I of course Googled and tried to find out, what are they like, and looked on YouTube. And it was one of those designers that have a compilation of models falling over on the catwalk, and they remix them and they kind of make them fall over a few times and put music to it. And I was thinking, this could be me. And they had not even real shoes, but they had actual nails, like from Bunnings, that they put on the bottom of the shoes that don't have grip at the bottom of them. So when you can't put any pressure forward or any pressure back, you actually just have to like put your foot straight down with every step. Otherwise it will fall because it's polished concrete. So there were things like that I was nervous about, because you don't want to debut for Fashion Week and fall.
God
No.
knows.
Very exciting.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it would have been. Would have been an absolute thrill ride to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go into your disability activism, but I wanted to start off. What's it like representing your disability community? Are you proud to represent it?
I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And I think it's twofold because I'm proud for doing it for my younger self that really wanted to see that representation, that never felt like they had a disability because I never looked like, the traditional person that had a disability that was in the media, and
Yeah.
if they even were in the media. It really was just, the wheelchair plaster on a disabled like toilet stall was all I knew of disability growing up. And I just never thought that I could fit in. And I didn't think that I could fit in the mainstream. I didn't think that I could fit in the disability community. And I didn't really know what my place was. But I could fake kind of just being a normal person, if that's what you want to call it, really well. But in my heart, I knew that that wasn't my life. It wasn't my reality. As soon as I went behind closed doors, I had to deal with a whole lot of other stuff. So really proud to do it for my younger self, but also for the entire community that doesn't know what the future holds and that's told so many horrible things about what life will be like, or that you cannot have a quality of life with the amount of medical interventions and complications that someone like me has. So I think just being able to challenge that stigma has been really powerful for me.
Yeah, it's great to be able to not only represent your community, but to also prove people English, Lewis.
Yeah.
Prove people wrong along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the beginning, when you were doing these speaking events about your disability, was it difficult to speak about it?
I don't think so. I've actually found it quite easy because I was so used to always seeing doctors that had no idea what Vactrol was. So every time I see a new doctor, whether it be a specialist or in the emergency department or in primary healthcare, I would always have to go through from the beginning exactly what my condition was, exactly what my experiences were. So when I transitioned that to being on stage, it was basically the same thing, but like told in a more exciting way. So I enjoyed it so much more, and the response from the audience was so much better than a response from a doctor. The doctor just writes it down and like what next, but from the audience they can start to connect with your story. So I just really loved it, and I found it to be quite natural for me.
Yeah, that's all a part of doing speaking events. It's about telling a story about your journey along the way. Yeah, so while I was doing research, I had no idea you'd written a book.
Yeah.
Where can you buy this book, or is there an audio book online as well?
Yeah, you can buy it on like all online. So Barnes and Noble, Dimmix, Amazon. You can buy it on my website, the vactrol.com.au website. And yeah, so I wrote it when I was really young. So to be honest, I don't really promote it. I don't really talk about it because like part of me is really shy because it has the perception of a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old, because I wrote it when I was 18 and I'm now 25. So it was my view of the world and my view of my life at 18. And I think if I wrote it again, honestly, it would be a different book. And I'd probably be a little bit more guarded about some of the things that I say. But at the same time, I can see that it had a really positive impact on the community and a positive impact on people that read it, because I was so honest and so vulnerable and disclosed so much. But yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that you didn't know, because I just don't really talk as much about it anymore.
Yeah, no, well, I just had, it was the first thing that popped up on your website. I'm just like, holy shit. That's brilliant. Why did you want to write the book, I guess? Did you want to inspire people, or like it was coming from your 18-year-old self? So I assume you wanted to target a younger audience, maybe?
Absolutely. I think the younger audience and the parents in my community, there's just like this huge audience of parents that, as soon as they get that diagnosis, it seems like the end of the world, and it can be that perception in the medical community that it's the end of the world. And so being able to reach them and being able to reach my community, it was this niche that I really wanted to appeal to. But being able to look back, I had always really loved writing as a child, and we keep like books, or a bit of hoarders in my family. So being able to go and look at these books that I've written when I was, just really able to start writing in primary school properly, I'd be writing about Vactril and my condition and my experience of it. So it was almost like it was something that
Okay.
meant to be. I really had this plan for it for so long, that it was something that I wanted to do. And then I think when I started my advocacy career, I saw that there was such a demand for it, and that there was so much power in my story, and that there were so many people that had, limited their dreams and their opportunities because they thought that they couldn't do something because of their circumstance. And so I really wanted to put my story out there, and show them that it doesn't have to be that way if they don't want it to be.
Yeah, right. Did you write anything else as a youngster?
Oh, like only stories about aliens and things like that, of course. Like everyone does,
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the imaginative brain is sort of craving, I guess, at the time. Yeah, especially if it fires really well at that age.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah. Do you believe that your book Behind the Smile has inspired people in the disability community to be more vulnerable about their stories? And maybe have you got any examples of people maybe coming up to you and sharing their stories about their experience?
Yeah, I really think so. So I really quite often get messages from people all around the world that have read my book and connected with my story, that have Vactril, and I honestly have no idea how they found out about my book. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful to see, and that they feel like there's a sense of shared disclosure, that I've been able to, disclose so much about my life, and that they now know that they have a safe space, whether it be with me or be with other people, to share more about theirs, and that it doesn't have to be something that there's shame and stigma attached to. And I think especially with conditions like mine that affect, your pelvic organs and continence and things like that, people don't like talking about it, because they feel like
Yeah,
it's so
it's a very private matter.
Yeah.
yeah, but like everyone goes to the bathroom, like everyone, or not sex, but you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you just want to talk about it. So I think that it was really important. I have had a bit of a mindset that if I have to lose my privacy, if I have to lose a bit of my dignity, so other people feel comfortable talking about things and disclosing things and know that it's okay, then that's something that I'll do time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. You've really made a difference in not only young people's lives, but many people's lives, which is great. What was it like? You had your first ever speaking event in Phoenix, Arizona. What was it like speaking there for the first time about your disability and being vulnerable in that sort of environment? Give us a bit of an insight.
It was incredible because it was at a conference of people that have different anorectal malformations, but also Vactril. And I'd never been in a group of people that all have my condition. So it was like being around family, and having people that will relate to you instantly. So that was just indescribable to me. And just being able to connect with people, being able to, go afterwards and be like, oh, we all have to go and do XYZ medical procedure now, or, oh, I had this surgery a few years ago, you had the exact same thing, and just instantly having something that you could relate to. Um, it was the most special experience, really was.
Yeah, it would have. Absolutely. How many people were there? How many people did you speak in front of?
It was 400.
That's a sort of
Yeah.
great crowd. Hell, it would have been exciting.
Yeah, and being able to find 400 people that all have a
Like
connection to
you, yeah.
it's just like it blew my mind entirely. But I found it a bit strange about like the American audience. They don't laugh as much as Australians.
Yeah,
And so I
they're
was like,
not they're not a funny bunch, Americans. No.
no. And so like for example, when I did Fashion Week in Amsterdam, they put me in this tiny black tight leather like leotard. And like obviously it's inappropriate. You don't want to go on to First time
Yeah.
wearing that. And so I made a joke about like my mum wasn't very happy about this outfit. And like no one laughed. I was like, wow, it's a tough crowd, but then
Yeah, very tough crowd.
I loved it. But I was like, you should laugh more. I needed
Yeah,
someone with
yeah.
signs that say like applause and laugh and
Yeah, that's the only time it works there. If you're on
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel or something like that, the whole applause sign
Laugh.
going.
yeah.
When you were sharing your story, I guess to the world in like Facebook group chats about your disability, were you nervous a little bit about it, about being judged about it?
Absolutely. Like I was really quite nervous. It was the first time that I'd really opened myself up to other people in my community. And I still remember it because I was driving from Sydney, or as a passenger in the car, driving from Sydney back to Brisbane.
Yeah.
So it was a really long drive, and there's not much to do apart from like go over things in your head over and over, right?
Mm,
And so I had been in these groups for like months and just like scrolling through, looking at what everyone else, posts. And then I thought, screw it. Like I might as well post and just see what happens. And so
yeah,
I put up the photo of me basically almost dead after a really long surgery that really changed my life. And then a photo of me at Fashion Week, and I was like, this is, that not that long apart. Like, this is kind of a bit about my life, and just the overwhelming response. I was just so shocked. And I think that was, a big trigger for me to start to move forward. And that just set everything off like a snowball effect. Just it kept rolling,
yeah.
momentum.
Let's talk about Champion Health Agency, your company. Give us a bit of an insight to what Champion Health Agency is about.
Yeah, so Champion Health Agency is really about professionalizing lived experience for people with chronic illness and disability and carers. So we look at lived experience as like a skill set. So you don't necessarily need to have educational work experience, but somehow use your lived experience to create an income and do it as a career. So I started my advocacy career and, started doing speaking and then doing different, consultancy work and ambassador roles and all of this. And for me, coming from a modeling background where I had an agent that would go out and find work for me and make sure I don't get taken advantage of and invoice the client and do kind of the business side of things. And I just had to worry about turning up and doing my job. That didn't exist in lived experience world. I could be represented by a modeling agency that looks after, disabled models, or I could be represented by a speaking agency, but neither of those did everything. So I went like looking for that. And when I couldn't find it, I thought, okay, well, I have to create it. So that's basically what I did. And especially because I found that my career was never going to be through employment with, part-time roles, full-time roles. Because I was in and out of hospital so much and, managed by so many specialist teams that send you a letter and you have to rock up to the hospital whenever. So I just saw it as a really good opportunity to not only boost my, social economic participation and do something really meaningful with my life, but to help others do the same.
Do you like running a business? Is
Yeah.
it stressful?
Is it
at all?
stressful? Do you find it challenging?
Of course, it's stressful, but I love it. Like I could not see another way, I think, than entrepreneurship for me personally. Just being able to have the freedom to do what I want when I want around my health. That, if I'm having a bad day and can't get out of bed, but then suddenly have energy at like 6 p.m. at night, I can work then. That works really, really well for me. Because life is so unpredictable, and being able to have that, mental energy and that intellectual energy, put all of that into business when I can, and not have someone kind of say you have to do this then. That works brilliantly around my disability and my needs. But of course it's stressful. Like I don't think there's ever a day or a time that I don't think about work. I'd love for that to change sometime, but I don't think it ever will. So I think it's what keeps me excited.
It's just what keeps you going, keeps on keeping on. I was going to ask something now. It's gone. Oh yeah. Are you based in? Is the business based in Queensland, or do you have several offices across the country?
Yeah.
So basically everything we do is online. But then we have talent.
Right.
Yeah, so we have talent all around Australia, and we have a few people overseas as well. But then of course the talent can go, anywhere to do their work, so they can even fly
Yeah.
into Sydney as well.
Yeah, cool.
That's
Do you have
great.
anyone that's represented from Adelaide?
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, do you? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we're based.
Yeah,
I always
perfect.
like giving Adelaide a mention.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you believe having people with disability making decisions at Champion Health Agency is vital to the company's potential growth in the future?
Absolutely. I always will believe fundamentally that people with disability need to be making decisions about, the things that affect them. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably where a lot of things have fallen down in us being able to fix and solve our own challenges and come up with our own solutions, because I think that other people can't really understand the lived experience of people with disability in decision making seats. Like it's challenging, it's complex, it's intricate, it's intersectional. So I think to actually live in a world that's not necessarily accessible for you or designed for you, it requires so much innovation and so much adaptation, and all of those strengths that come from that are perfect for entrepreneurship, are perfect for
Yeah.
leadership. So I think that having, more disabled leaders is actually how businesses are going to succeed more in the future.
We need
we-
more unique leaders in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We just do.
Yeah, I think it's just about finding the ways that we can enable great leadership, because if you say that a leader has to be there, 24/7 and available 24/7, that's not going to be sustainable. So we just need to find ways to actually make it happen better and, unlock those great strengths that are already there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How long has
absolutely.
How long has Champion Health Agency been running for?
2.5 years. So
2.5
since,
years, so not long.
yeah, so May 2021 we started.
Wow.
It was like during COVID, wasn't it? COVID times?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Forever, like, but
Yeah.
COVID times we started.
Yeah, right.
How was that? Like starting your own company during COVID times, was that a bit more of a challenge, or did you kind of take it on board?
I think it was great because like everything was basically online.
Naturally.
We also got to see into people's homes of clients, it was fascinating.
You like our home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having built your talent agency, do you wish there was a talent agency like this coming up when you were coming up in the modeling world or things of that nature?
Definitely. And the reason why I built it was because I built something that I needed. And if I could have been represented by an agency like Champion at any stage of my career, especially early stages of my career, I think it would have been quite a game changer for me. I just think it's so important to be able to pull together all of these different parts of lived experience, because it took me a long time to work out that there is more than just modeling, and there's more than just speaking, and there's more than just, different pockets of advocacy work, because it's so rarely pulled together. And I hope that that's what we're actually able to do effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see the company going in 5 to 10 years' time?
So we are actually in the process of transitioning to become a charity. So hopefully by early next year, we will be a charity.
Incredible. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm just hoping to really expand it. So we represent, quite select talent at this stage, but being able to expand it in a way that really encourages greater community participation, but being able to get more people to create, different position statements and greater community projects. So it doesn't just rely on, different clients saying like, hey, I've got this idea, I've got this project. Can we have talent or people with disability come on board and help us do it? I would love like us as Champion and the community to come together to say, actually, this is what we want. What clients and stakeholders are out there that want to start being a part of it or fund this work or come together and collaborate? So really actually like flipping the model more. So yeah, we still do representation, but the needs and priorities are identified by the community and other people come to us to make it happen more. That would be my dream.
Yeah. Well, we wish you nothing but success when that comes to building into a charity. I really hope that goes well for you.
Yeah.
I want to give you firstly a congratulations on, I'm going to butcher this, of becoming an ambassador for International Day for People with Disability. think that's how is that how it's said?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Said by true ambassadors yourselves.
Yeah. True every time. How did you feel when you were accepted to be an ambassador for this year?
I was so excited, like so excited. It was like Christmas for me. It was just amazing. For so many reasons. I think just truly that feeling of being validated as someone that's being recognized as having a disability. Because like I said at the beginning, straddling those two worlds, feeling like I have a disability, but no one sees it, no one recognizes it, and constantly being told by other people, oh, you look so healthy, oh, you mustn't be that disabled, but living that life so deeply and every single day, 24/7. So having that recognition from, the federal government, but also being able to put that out in mainstream media, I think is so powerful. But then at the same time, living with such a rare condition, so many people don't know about it. And just having even 5 more people know about it, that is going to spread further and further. And it's actually going to really impact more positive treatment, more positive outcomes, more positive experiences, reducing stigma. Like the impact of something like this, it might seem so insignificant to some, but it genuinely is so powerful. And just to go on a tangent, last year I was actually called in to advocate for someone with Bactrial, and the justification was they didn't want to give any treatment because they said that people with Bactrial don't have a quality of life. So why would we bother intervening and doing surgeries, doing treatment if they're going to grow up and not have a good quality of life? So I think that even now in 2023, there is still a perception that if you're born with severe medical issues, like of course it's ableism, that you can't have a good life. And so I think having more people with disabilities out in the public, showing all the wonderful things that we can do is so powerful. And having someone like me that may not look it, but have all this medical background is part of that puzzle.
Yeah, it's really about honing in on your strengths and
Absolutely.
showing people about the amazing things you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is probably an easy question, but why did you want to become an ambassador for International Day of People with Disability?
Yeah, I think it's really drawing from those same reasons, just like having the opportunity to really represent my community, and also share the messages. And I think being able to also increase the platform that I've got with, Champion Health Agency and with the entrepreneurship work I'm doing, because I think that the work that I do is so much beyond me, but about creating spaces for other people. Like so often I'm approached for things that like genuinely I'm not a good fit for. Like I would love to do it, but someone else's lived experience is so much better than my lived experience, because I can't speak on behalf of everybody. Like I'm not everybody. I don't have every disability. I don't have every experience, but I'm in a really wonderful position to be able to tap other people on the shoulder and bring them into these conversations. And I think having an opportunity like this enables me to make connections that can bring other people into spaces and into conversations that they truly deserve to be in, but they're so often left out of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What difference do you think you're going to make to your community as an ambassador?
I really hope increased awareness, increased representation, and really just reframing the conversation around disability and reframing the conversation around, invisible disability, what's possible, and the opportunities that really truly exist for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. Do you believe that sharing your story is during International Day of People with Disability is going to inspire a nation? It's going to inspire people around Australia?
I would love for that. I think that being able to share my story, I would hope that it would impact people regardless of them having a disability or not, and regardless of them even caring about disability or not, that they know that greater things are possible. That, if I have gone through as much crap as I have in my life, and what I've been able to do, that they can do what they want to be able to do as well.
Absolutely. Have you had any media opportunities with being an ambassador yet, or any good experiences you've had so far?
So I've gone to the Focus on Ability Film Festival.
Oh, you went. Beautiful.
It was amazing. It was so amazing. Like, I just cannot believe all the incredible things that are happening in the space that I just hadn't necessarily been exposed to. So that was amazing. And then I have an ABC radio interview, and I wrote a bit for Women's Agenda as well. That should be coming out soon.
Beautiful. Are you heading to Canberra in a couple of weeks?
I am. Are you both?
And we will be, yes. We'll be able to see you in person.
Perfect. I will be emceeing the morning tea.
Wow, okay, beautiful.
I know. I'd
Be able to say we interviewed her. Hopefully we did all right. Final question. If you could see your younger self again, especially the one that was writing about aliens, things of that nature, what advice would you give her and what would you say?
Don't write about aliens. You can write about so many better things. Would be the
Yeah.
first thing. I think the second thing is like, and this is so basic, but like it's all going to work out. You know, that so many limitations are things that you have in your own head, you know, that I think growing up, you're so concerned with identity, like where you fit into the world, and that you don't have to fit in anywhere. You will actually carve your own space that you will feel so comfortable in, and that is where you fit. And in carving out that space where you fit, it'll actually create room for other people to fit there as well.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
And
that was
yeah,
amazing.
it's been a privilege. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
What a great conversation. What a fascinating individual. Once again, a massive congratulations on becoming an ambassador for International Day of People with Disability. It's an incredible achievement, and I'm sure we're going to share the stage sometime soon. If you want to learn more about Anja, her links will be in the description, her website, her Instagram, and we'll probably put a link in the description about her book as well, Behind the Smile, which we only found out in research. I'll probably give it a read myself. And if you want to learn more about Twin Times, Charlie and I, our link to our podcast on Spotify and also our Instagrams will be in the description. Other than that, this has been the Twin Times podcast. Enjoyed yourself. Wish you nothing but peace and love throughout the rest of the week, and see you in the next one.